2000 BC. The lower levels were reserved for administration. The top was dedicated to the patron god, like Marduk Anu, god of the heaven, chief of the Sumerian pantheon, Atanar, Asog Ilo, etc. The observatory at the level was meant to maintain contact with the gods, V'rosh Hashamayim. So he is relating archaeological fact to the concept of what Rosh Hashamayim means, the idea of having a contact with heaven, and that is certainly something that from geological record and from historical record we can see the Babylonians were trying to do with their towers.
4500 BC, that's too much, I think. That's too high. Because I remember mine. I don't think.
You date the world 5,700 years.
Yeah.
Too much.
Too much.
If you date it.
Well, I'm assuming that your father's going by Jewish.
No, he's probably going by, because he's making an archaeological quote here, he's probably going not by Jewish.
But he said.
Number 8. V'na'aselanu, with the tipcha, and we shall make for us, with the backwards focused tipcha, with a pause slightly afterwards. Being close to heaven and finding superior secrets they expected, and we shall make for us a special position in the world. By our exclusive privileges we shall be able to deter any aggressor, as referred backwards by the directional shape of the reading mark. So this is going to give them security, and it's going to separate them out from shame, a name. This has got the stabilizing etnachta. We might discover a name of the most potent God upon whom we might call at any time to protect our interests, as specified by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So, as part of their plan for protection, they're going to seek out those secrets that they might spy in heaven and see if they can use something from there for their defense as well. Pen nafutz with the tipcha. This is going to focus us backwards and pause slightly afterwards. That's not we should be scattered. Talking like Yoda. We shall secure our existence and identity, that not we should be scattered and finally absorbed among other nations who have been our eternal enemies, as illustrated by the reverse inclination of the directional reading mark.
So this wasn't all of humanity.
So, well, that's the question. Is it just representatives of everyone? Are they just planning for the future and saying, what happens if other people make something, we're going to make something impregnable here that no one would even think of attacking? Or are they still worried about other people who are on the outside? And we don't really get an answer to that.
When after the flood, isn't it the same word? How does it say they spread out after the flood?
Nifradu hagoyim ba'aretz achar hamabul. That the nations were separated in the land after the flood.
Right, so and there were this was a continent after the flood also. So they didn't come back from Africa to this one place. It's one group of people that is already talking about enemies, and
I think back
can't see all of humanity coming back after the continental drift and everything. It's impossible.
So the question is this a common work that they are all engaged in, even if they are not all living there?
Yeah.
So everybody could certainly be sending representatives to, make this as
project, right?
a pan-national project, if you will. But
and the donations.
Certainly there is sharing of technology and skills and philosophical ideas.
Which is a good thing. See, that's the positive side of having one being
Note, pen,
that's going to be good.
it should not happen. It is a negative expression, an undesirable condition comparable to the Latin Nay. In contrast to ulai, or lima'an, in order or for the sake, corresponding with the Latin ut or utinam, expressing a wishful occurrence. So pen nafutz, if we were scattered, that would be a bad thing. Or as opposed to it might having things that were good about it. So he's just saying that the word pen is used in negative connotation. Number 11, al penei, with a mercha. So we'll repeat that for the tape. Nafutz and tfutzot, areas that were scattered, or certainly there's the museum in Tel Aviv, Beit HaTfutzot, that talks about the scattering of the Jewish people throughout the world and their various contributions and various genealogies. Over the surface of Al Panei, number 11, with a mercha, lightly connected to what's come from before, but mostly pushing us forward into what is going to go afterwards. By our achievement, we should be distinguished people over face of all nations, as conveyed by the directional shape of the reading mark. So all of these things that we are going to build together are going to make us something that is going to give us fame. Kol haaretz, all the earth, number 12, with the stabilizing sof pasuk. As teachers of all the world, we shall be eternally admired and highly respected. So by making this common project, which will make us greater, we are going to assume that people are going to admire us for having achieved that. And we have the remark, in comparison to the pyramids, the Sikkuras temples were architecturally much further advanced and more complicated. Even in purpose, the Sikkuras served various useful objectives for the life of the community, while a pyramid was only a grave for a single pharaoh. So what he is saying here is there is the ability, by using bricks and mortar, to make structures that have multiple functions to themselves and much more dynamic range of how they interact with the city that is close to them, because of the flexibility that that building technique allows, that really wasn't allowed by fitted stones that go together. When we...
Wait a minute, what the slaves that what you mentioned, the straw and stuff, what were they making there? Bricks? So they were making bricks in Egypt.
No, the stone fitted together with the straw.
Stone, they were making
So-
stone?
No, it had a huge
So
stone.
there are two things. There are pyramids in Egypt,
Mhm.
and then there are cities in Egypt. And the cities were made with bricks.
So they already have the technique.
The pyramids were
With
made
stone.
with stone. There is no mention of Jews building pyramids. There are mention of Jews making
Becoming
cities, cities of tribute. So they're building cities. Cities have walls and buildings. They're not building the tombs of the pharaohs per se. The question is, were they inscripted into making those projects as well? And it's not mentioned, and we don't know that answer.
No, but I'm saying, here they were saying the
self-aware.
superiority of the Babylonian over the Egyptian, but the Egyptians also had the technology. I mean, they got it from the Babylonians.
But it's also significantly later.
But
So, I
again,
mean, the pyramids is not because they didn't have the technology.
we're
They
saying
did, they chose
we're
to-
saying that the story of the Tower of Babel is that they're sharing this technology with each other. Everybody has this now.
Right.
But they also do make a distinction. Now they're burning the bricks before they just sun-dry them, so they're getting better with time, too.
But I'm saying by the time the Jewish people get to Egypt, they already have the technology, this technology.
Yes, that's many years.
When we first read it, it sounded like, anyway, okay.
But this is many years later.
And it's
No, this is many years
it's
earlier.
interesting that-
Yeah, this is many years earlier to
Right.
the Jews being enslaved in Egypt.
Right. So, Right, so when they did build the pyramids, not the Jews, but when they built the pyramids, they chose to build it with... Before when we read this, it sounded like they didn't have the technology, the Egyptians, to build the pyramids any other way, but that's not true. For whatever reason, they chose to do that, and
What was,
they did it.
what was,
Pretty big.
what was
Huh?
easy, what was easy and convenient was what was easy and convenient. So once you learned how to do one thing, you kept on doing it. Unless,
But that's still the question, why didn't they use the technology they had for Pitam and Ramses for the cities and apply it to the pyramids too? They obviously wanted the pyramids to be built that way for whatever reason, we don't know, but it's not like they didn't have the technology to build it with bricks, because they did already, especially by that time.
But
You see what I'm saying?
yes, but it's fancier and more expensive.
Which is,
Like the linoleum floors on the Titanic, right? That was the new stuff, and that was more expensive, and so we're going to adorn this fancy new ship with the expensive stuff. You know,
Okay,
why
so
do
what's the
certain people
parallel?
wash schmancy marble in a bathroom? Another tile, because it's the more expensive stuff. It's better. So if you're making, a house for the eternal house for the pharaoh,
It's
I'm
probably-
going to spend the money and do the more expensive way, even though it's less efficient.
It's probably already recognized though, is the stone they used for the pyramid was more durable for lifetime as opposed to the bricks that probably easily more crumbling. And look what's left now. The pyramids, not the original homes. Yeah.
so I want to, when we read through the pasuk, to differentiate between the first conversation that they had. Let's make bricks and make clay and so on. So when they first make that discussion, Hava, let's all get together and do this thing. Let's try. Starts with a yativ, starts with something that is a separation because it's different from what's come from before, but it's got this focusing and uniting element. Whereas here, when they're talking about let's make a weapon let's make a differentiation on a philosophical basis and a differentiation that allows us to fight against heaven, this Hava has a munach with a psik afterwards, so it's going to completely separate us out from what we were before. So before we had a technology that could make us better, we could use it for good or use it for bad. This is something that we're going to make a shift that is going to completely make us separate and different. So I want you to notice the difference between Vayomru Hava Nivna Lanu Ir and Vayomru Hava Nivna Lanu Ir. So there's that very, very strong demarcation that we're going to get in this sentence that wasn't there in the one before, just by the difference in notes. And we'll read through the whole sentence. Vayomru Hava Nivna Lanu Ir Umigdal Virosho Vashamayim V'nase Lanu Shem Penafutz Al Pnei Chol Haaretz.
Cool. Yes, Shukar.
And I think we'll stop there, and we'll continue on next week, and we'll finish this story.
Yes,
the
Shukar.
irony is that they're getting